Okay, cool. We're getting better.
We're
getting better.
Yeah,
I promise.
honestly, getting better. Welcome to the Champion Youth Podcast. My name is Andrea.
And it's Jake here.
And we're pumped to be here again with you.
Most definitely.
By the people, for the people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God. What is this, the Constitution test?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully you did well on your finals. All is finally done. Am I right?
Yeah, you guys all have to be out of school by now, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm out of school, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I hope you guys are too. So, Jake, what's going on? How are you? Like,
I'm good,
any updates for the people?
Let me think. Olivia Rodrigo's new album came out.
Whoa, yeah, what are your thoughts
a few weeks ago.
Thoughts
right?
on
Last
that?
week? Was it last week? Something like that.
Yeah, I did listen to a few.
Guys, I'm not a teenage girl going through it or anything, but the album spoke to me, So I will say that. Oh.
The way you set that up, I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No, it was really good. It was a really good album.
Sheesh.
Really enjoyed it. Let's think. What else is happening?
Olivia. Thanks,
Dogecoin spiked up again yesterday.
Guys,
a little bit.
Jake knows all these things that I have no clue about. I mean, I used a mug today instead of a disposable one.
She's an optimist.
In case you can't see right now, the mug says optimist upside down. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little play on words there.
Yeah, it's like, are you really an optimist?
I got some new chapstick. Not a lot of updates happening. So.
What kind of chapstick do you use?
TBH, I'm actually very passionate about Aquaphor. Does anyone know that? Anyone fans in the room?
I do know Aquaphor.
We got a couple fans here with us, mostly just Rachel. But I think I might have bought you Aquaphor at first, so glad I got you hooked. But anyways, it's great for anything you need.
What would you need Aquaphor for?
Just like eczema or like scabs or your dry lips, whatever. Just check it out. If you're a runner, you can put it on your heels.
Heels, yeah. That's what I do.
I'm not a runner. I don't know what I'm talking about.
She's a runner. She's a track star.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Jake, what are you doing this summer? Got any plans?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm going to Cabo.
No
in July.
way.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Friends, family?
Friends. Yeah, I'm going with the Bacas. You guys may know them.
Nice.
And Caleb.
Nice.
So me and Caleb, we're going to tear it up in Mexico.
Okay, great.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, just a bunch of Champion Youth stuff.
Okay, well,
I'm so excited.
Is the best part of your
summer.
I'm
literally so excited.
Jake, are you excited?
I'm so excited.
I can't feel the excitement.
Like it's resonating and like exfoliating.
Exfoliating.
Yeah.
Back to skincare.
What about you? What are you doing this summer?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, don't have like a ton of things lined up, but we were talking earlier that I feel like some of one thing that people are often excited about are family vacations.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that a lot of families do, and maybe yours doesn't. Mine didn't always. We would like go every maybe like 4 years or something, like when someone would graduate. I don't know why that was a thing.
Congrats, we're going to Disney.
Yeah, no, seriously though. But yeah, so we were kind of like talking about that. Like, do you have a favorite family vacation that you've gone on before?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we've done Disney a lot.
Okay.
Mexico. Obviously.
Love that, obviously.
But yeah, I think my favorite had to be the last time we went to Cancun. That was really fun, but it was also stressful because it was the first time that my whole family kind of went out of country, like together. So it was like we had a Gracie who was like 2 or something, and then Marco was like Marco.
Love you, Marco.
Shout out Marco. And me, an angsty teenager that just didn't want to be like in an airport. So it's like, it wasn't a good time for my parents.
Airports.
Yeah. So it was really like, it was fun, but like also super stressful. Like, I don't know if you feel like that, but I feel like family vacations are really fun, but like they're also so stressful. Like you have to deal with so many different personality types.
So
and like you have to live with each other for like a week and a half and like in your space, like I don't know.
It's just like unexpected too, because like you expect, I don't know, at least for me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait, we're gonna go to the beach and like this is gonna be so fun. And then there's like conflict or there's like stress or tension in the room and you're like, what is happening? Like I thought this was a vacation, like away from that. But it's the reality of it, and there's probably ups and downs too. It's just like, it is funny how that does happen.
Do you have any like crazy vacation stories with your family?
Crazy vacation stories. Honestly, that's really hard to remember. Do you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you should share. 'Cause I definitely don't.
I remember specifically once, I think it was like the second time we went to Disney World.
Okay.
I got lost in Disney World.
How old were you?
I was like 11 or something like that.
Stop.
And I don't know. I literally got lost.
That's
and
actually scary.
I mean, I was having the time of my life. I was in Disney World. I was
11-year-old Jake.
I was like, oh my God.
I'm going to go on another ride.
Mickey Mouse. Yeah, whatever. And like my parents, I'm pretty sure like were like searching for me and like looking, but they found me eventually. I had to meet them.
So.
I had to meet them in like the little town square, like Magic Kingdom.
Gosh.
But that was pretty wild.
That is crazy, actually.
Other than that, one time I went swimming in this big like hole in the ground in Mexico, and like there's like these like. I forget what they're called. There's like a Spanish word for it, but it's like this really like deep sinkhole that has like a big like kind of pond at the bottom of it.
Okay.
You have to take these crazy stairs to get all the way down.
Sheesh.
And then there's like these like eels or something that were swimming in it, and they didn't tell us that there was these eels in there, so like we're just swimming, and then I felt one like graze my leg. And I was just like freaking out. I was like, what is that? Because there's like a freaking eel. So that happened.
That's messed up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton of crazy stories like that. No eels, no getting lost. But I think like for me, I'm the youngest of my family, so like I always kind of had to just go with the flow, like because everyone has so many opinions, and so I was just like, I'll eat anywhere. I don't really care. Can we just make a decision? But it's just funny how I think that does play into my personality. Like it's like I don't know if I'm like that or if I was just like raised that way, and so now I'm pretty easygoing. But people are like, where do you want to eat? And I'm like, I will literally eat anywhere because I'm so used to everyone else having very strong opinions. But yeah, so anyways, if you just, I don't know, I just feel like family dynamics are something that are different for everyone. Can definitely be complicated, but also everyone has on some level, whether you're super close with your family or you're not at all, or your parents are together or they're not, you have siblings or you don't, it doesn't matter. Like family is family. And sometimes I think you can think that other families are like maybe perfect. They look perfect. They take family photos and you're like, why is mine not like that? Or maybe the opposite, where you're like super close with your family, but still like get frustrated and you're like, what's going on? So I don't know. Today, I think it'd just be cool if we could chat about family and 100%. What that looks like and how to be, I think, like patient with your family, because I don't know, for me, that was definitely tough as a teenager specifically. Yeah,
I think for me, something that I had to learn growing up was like kind of what you're saying, like being patient with your family. Like I would get in a lot of arguments with specifically, I think my dad, because my mom, same. I love my dad, but my mom told me that we would get in a lot of fights just because it was like we were so similar. So it's like sometimes being
that's relatable.
Yeah, so like sometimes when you're like too alike, like sometimes you get into like some arguments here and there just because like you don't want to budge in certain ways, and I don't know.
Your personalities clash because they're so similar. Yeah, that makes sense. So
I had to deal with that growing up, and like one thing that I had to realize is like my parents aren't perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Sorry
like,
for the people in the back.
Yeah. Rachel, no, I'm just kidding. But no, it's like you can't expect your parents to be perfect the whole time. And like growing up, sometimes you like almost like idolize your parents because it's like, wow, these are the people that I'm like growing up with. Like they have taken care of me. Like they do all this stuff for me. Like you love your parents, you know. And maybe you don't have that same relationship with your parents, you know.
Yeah,
but,
it depends. Yeah.
For me, that's how I was. I like idolized my parents, and I was like, wow, they're awesome. They're like the best people ever. But then like it hit a point where it was like I saw things that like would be like, why am I arguing with my dad, or why am I arguing with my mom?
Totally.
And it's because I had these like really high expectations for them, but it's like you can't like put false expectations on them.
That's good.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you can have high expectations, but don't put false ones. And like realizing that they're not perfect and they're still people, like I think that's like a good way of balancing that.
Totally. And like I think that we even have to be careful of having too high of expectations too, because like are you expecting your parents to be perfect? Are you expecting your parents to like always say the right things at the right times? It's like they're human too. And so the sooner you can realize that, the sooner you'll be less frustrated with them and less annoyed all the time, and just being able to, like we even have been saying, and pastors been saying, like giving space for grace in that area. Because I think also it's tricky when I had a couple situations when I was a teen where like I literally thought my parents were wrong, and like whether that's true or not, it just was like, at the end of the day, I have to honor my parents. And what does that look like? It might look different for everyone, but in that moment, it's like, I can't, even if I think that I'm right and they're wrong, they're still the parents. And so until you're out on your own, it's like, you have to honor them. And it can be hard sometimes when you feel like you're right and they're not listening or whatever. But it's just, it teaches humility. It teaches, I think, it also helps you become like more intimate with God, because you have to rely on your relationship with God, because maybe your parents aren't like coming through in the ways that you want them to. But I think it's also, like you were saying, like they're not perfect, and the best parents, which like the perfect parents, which are there any? No. But even like the best of the best parents can only parent you 50%. So the other 50% is God. God has to reparent all of us, because no one's parents were perfect. And so I think this is a good time for you, for like the teenagers listening, to like take this time to reparent yourself. And Jake, like, what do you feel like that looks like, or how can they like start that process now?
So one thing so like I said, I would get into these arguments with my dad, but he also had like the most wisdom, like when it came to like situations like this, when there was conflict.
Wow.
So what he would tell me is like, if you think that I'm wrong in a situation, like genuinely think that you're right and I'm wrong, go and pray about it, because either there's going to be two things that happen.
Wow.
One, God's going to speak to you and show you that, hey, you were wrong in this situation and this is why. Or two, pray about it and he's going to work in my life. You should have confidence enough in my faith that I'm going to pray about this too, and know that God's going to be working in my life, and I'll come and apologize to you if I'm really wrong.
Wow.
And there's been situations like that where it's like, I'm in a situation where like, I feel like I'm right, my dad's wrong, and I've done what he said, you know, even through the anger, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to my dad. Yeah. And I go and do this, and like you said, either two things happen. I come and apologize, and I say, hey, Dad, I was wrong in this situation. Or two, he comes to me, and having a parent apologize to you is kind of weird, because like they're supposed to, you know, like in most people's eyes, they're supposed to be right all the time. And like, you know, but you know, like if you have a parent they're willing to talk to you and like go through that, like have confidence that they'll come to you too, and you know, work things out. And I think that's like an important thing too, having open communication with your parents.
100%.
You know, like being able to have dialogue and a conversation is how you can honor them. And you know, even like I feel like there's a lot of parents out there that want to be able to talk to their kids, they just don't know how. You know,
that's
and
totally fair. And it's probably, I know from being like younger, like and even now, like it's super easy to put up a wall and like, oh, I don't want to talk, like I don't want to talk, I'm not gonna make the first move, like and even if they try, you're gonna like push them away if maybe you're in that season. But if you make the move, and if like you actually make an effort to talk to your parents, to initiate a conversation, I think they're gonna listen. Like I think at the end of the day, like most parents will listen, and if they don't, hey, that's on them, and you can do your part. But at least you tried. And instead of assuming like, oh, my parents never listen to me, it's like, well, have you talked to them?
Yeah.
Have you like tried to open up to them?
Yeah.
Like, you know, but like you were saying too, like that's really cool that your parents like are wise and do have that wisdom to share. But maybe for some of you, maybe your parents aren't Christians, and so that's confusing and hard, because like you have this faith, you're trying to grow, you're trying to talk to them, you're trying to pray about it, but it's confusing because they're not. And that's okay too. And I think that God sees that. You have to know, like, God sees you, he will honor that, and he'll like repay later on. But for now, just you do have to honor your parents no matter what. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean that you have to like never say anything, but it just means that you just have to, for now, not tell them they're like, the way to win is not telling them they're wrong or getting angry or reacting, but really just like making a decision to love them and give them grace, because I think your actions will speak louder than your words. Them consistently seeing you be patient and acting in love is all you can do, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that's like pretty key.
Super solid.
And that's cool that like even through the conflicts with your dad, like that both outcomes would have happened. Like sometimes you were wrong, sometimes your dad was wrong. Yeah. Like, do you feel like that makes you less like scared of conflict? Or like,
I think it's easier to handle. Like I feel for me personally, I had a hard time dealing with conflict. I didn't like having those conversations, you know.
Retweet.
But it made having those conversations, once they happened, it made it a lot easier, because then you're both on the same understanding and the same field, like of understanding what's happening. But yeah, and then like you were saying, if your parents aren't like, let's say they don't want to talk to you, or like they don't want to be a part of your life or whatever, you know, there is like God, and you know, he's like your ultimate parent. Like you can go and talk to him at the end of the day. Like you have someone to talk to, you know, and like he's going to be there for you when no one else will be. Right. And like I said, like our parents are flawed and they're human, but God, he's the ultimate love. Yeah. He's a provider. He's everything that you'll ever
Heavenly
need.
Father,
Heavenly Father. And so it's like, that's what you should put your confidence and your reliance in, is like your relationship with him at the end of the day. Because if that's strong, your relationships with everyone else is going to be strong.
True.
Whether that's your parents, your siblings, your family, like whoever it is. So like it all starts with that relationship first.
Yeah. So. And like trusting in God, not trusting in your parents' perfect behavior. Yeah. Like God's perfect. So he's going to give you everything you need. Now that's huge. I feel like that will, I feel like solve a lot, and would have helped me solve a lot. I think when I was a teenager experiencing conflicts with my parents or siblings or whatever, like it can get frustrating. It can get like annoying, but at the end of the day, I asked a friend earlier who I think had a just kind of a tougher family situation, and I was like, what would be your advice to teenagers who maybe are frustrated with their family members or are just having a like tough time in that area? And she kind of hesitated, and then she was like, all you can do is love them, because your anger isn't going to change them. You're not even responsible for changing them anyways, but love never fails, and love covers a multitude of sins, and love conquers all. And there's so much power in love that I think we underestimate, because it can sound so like lovey-dovey. You're like, oh yeah, just love them. But seriously, like what does that look like to love them? Like what does that look like to really love your parents, love your siblings? How can you like serve them better? And it can sound so religious or like robotic, but if you really put that into action, I think you'll see results that you want.
For sure. Pastor said something yesterday. He was saying like, what did he say? He's like, God wants us to be happy because we know that we're loved. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, we should take that into our relationships too. It's like, if we want that person to be happy, like let me do all that I can. Let me love them, you know. And if they're receiving it, then great. They're gonna be happy. They're gonna be, you know, and like the relationship's gonna flourish. Yeah, wow. But it's like if they deny it, that's on them. You know, it's like you can do all that you can. And but yeah, Andge, we're in very different positions. You are a youngest sibling. I know. I was gonna say that. I am the oldest sibling. Like other than your parents, like how did you deal with your like relationships with like your older siblings? Like you know, getting to know them like like that dynamic?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I think, so I'm the youngest of 4. I have an older sister, 2 older brothers, and we're all pretty far spread, but we're evenly spread. And I think my perspective, I think looking back is like, I genuinely try, if you're the youngest or if you have older siblings, I would take that as an advantage and I would learn from your older siblings. That's what I tried to do. I don't think I intentionally did it. I think it was just kind of like, oh yeah, like they got grounded for that. Like I probably shouldn't do that. Or like they got in trouble here, or they actually are like really awesome at this. Like I want to do that. Or so I kind of just followed in their footsteps and kind of took mental notes of the good, the bad, and just tried to like use it to make me better, which kind of sounds selfish, but hey, maybe it is. But I did it, and I feel like I would have been way worse off if I was the first child, if I was the oldest, just because I would have had no one to follow or like no one to like pave the way for me. So really I'm grateful for my siblings, but at the same time, I think as the youngest, you can also feel like not heard or like not as important, or kind of like just the back burner, like, oh, she'll be fine. Like, I think my parents kind of got tired of parenting by the end. They're like, it's been 20 years. So pros and cons either way, but that's kind of my perspective. What about you? Awesome. As the oldest, what is that like?
So I have 2 younger siblings. I have Marco, who
Love you, Marco.
a junior in high school, and then I have Gracie, who's going to be a kindergartner this upcoming year.
I love her.
So we are very spread apart. Me and my youngest sibling Grace, I think it's 17, 18 years apart.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so it's a big gap, you know. So I think growing up with Marco was like, that was the hardest one for sure, because it was like he's like your bro, but like at the same time it's like, dude, they're always like nagging at you like, hey, let me get in your business, like, and like kind
a stage of life behind you.
It's like completely behind me. And but as I'm like getting older now, it's like Marco's becoming really cool, and like I want to hang out with him, and like it's like now I want to hang out with him, and he's like, no, get away from me. Like so it's like
tables have turned.
But I think it was for me, I was always told like, Jake, you gotta like be good at this, or not be good at this, but like you have to be an example for your younger siblings. You have to do this. You have to. So I think for me, what I had to deal with growing up as the oldest was like a lot of responsibility was placed upon me, even if I didn't want it. Like it was just entrusted upon me. Like that's just how it works when you're the oldest. Like a lot of the time, like even if you don't want to like be responsible for something, you kind of have to be. You know, it's like that, and then like knowing that you had a lot of influence on your younger siblings is important. And so for me, that was like hard, because they were like, your brother's looking up to you, like what would like what kind of example are you setting for him? And like so I had to deal with that, and so it was like always hard, because I felt like there was these really high expectations for me, and you're like, and I'm like, I didn't ask for this, like I'm
just trying to get my homework done.
It's like I didn't want to do any of this. You know, it's like so it was like that whole thing. But eventually it's like, okay, instead of seeing it as a bad thing, it's like, take those expectations and be like, okay, I can hit these. Like, these are like my goals, you know? Like, I'm not supposed to be, like, I'm not like, maybe I'm not hitting them all the way right now, but I'm like also learning and I'm experiencing things. So it's like, as I'm growing and I'm learning, I can help my younger siblings understand that I'm learning. So it's like, help them, like, you know, just like Anne said, she would see her, like the mistakes that her siblings did, and like help your younger siblings, like, no, like this is what you're not supposed to do. You know? So
totally. No, I think my older sister, like before she went to college, this is actually pretty wild. And maybe if you guys have younger siblings, you could like do this or maybe something similar. But my sister literally gave me like her like journal, like her diary kind of like all these things. And then she like wrote me this letter, and she's like, I want you to read this and see it as like what not to do. She's like, I didn't handle so many situations right. She's like, I was insecure. I was focused on the wrong thing. Like, I wish I would have taken my high school experience and like focused on God and like shown people more love and brought people towards him, instead of like worrying about what other people think about me and like just trying to like impress guys or get more friends or worry about the dance or whatever. Like, she was like, I just wish I would have like done it differently. She's like, and I think that if you learn this from me, your high school experience can be completely different, and you can turn turn your school upside down for Jesus. And so like, awesome. I just remember being like really inspired by that and like so honored that she would like tell me literally all these things that I never knew that she did and all these rules she broke that my parents definitely didn't know about. But I just was like, dang, okay. Like, good to know. I'm gonna do my best to kind of like be better. And I know Pastor always says like parents should try to make their kids like a better version of themselves. And in a way, like you can kind of do that with your siblings too. Like you can, if you're older, you can try to make your younger siblings like better than you know, and they do have it better than you. But if you're a younger sibling, like don't get annoyed by your older ones or, but you can like learn from them, good and bad.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, family's crazy. Yeah, wild. You know, wild. That was a good combo, and we would love to hear about your families because everyone has different layers, dynamics, especially like with. I know I was talking to some teens recently who have like half siblings or step siblings or parents, significant others, and it can definitely it is definitely complicated, and that's okay because God knows, God sees it all. He's right there with you, and He's gonna give you all the answers you need more than us. It's awesome. Yeah.
Great. Love it.
Sweet. Well,
before we like end everything, how would you feel about like next episode, right?
Okay. I think
we take like
we're thinking ahead here.
We take like student submitted questions on Instagram or something, and we answer a few of them.
I am all about that, Jake.
You like that? All right.
Jake, I feel like so good about that. You don't even know.
Okay, we love it.
1,000%.
So
confidence.
if you're hearing this right now, make sure you go out there and ask us some questions. And
like what do they do? Like them. DM chicken news or something?
Well, I'll put up like a Q&A something on social, and then
Jake with the Q&As.
Yeah. No.
All right. I love
we'll
social. Sweet.
But yeah, sick.
Yeah. Can't wait to hear your questions.
Reminder.
We have some other things coming up.
We have a lot
We'll
of
let
stuff.
you know. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your week, and cheers. We'll see you later. Someone slap me.